The Steam Deck itself is nothing special. What's really interesting is how it has the potential to help change what we expect from portable gaming devices. Before you write a comment down below disagreeing with this statement, please hear me out for a bit. For those unaware, Valve has recently announced the Steam Deck, a portable PC in a similar form factor as the Nintendo Switch. Aside from the weird analog stick placement, I think it looks great and probably will be a very high quality device, as is expected from something designed at Valve. However, it really isn't nothing exceptional to be hyped about. The form factor isn't something new, Nintendo's been experimenting with it ever since the Wii U days, and the idea of a handheld gaming PC has been done before by several companies to varying degrees of success. The cheapest offering of the Steam Deck, priced at $399, is $100 more expensive than the Switch and $200 more expensive than the Switch Lite's MSRP. Some may say that those products aren't comparable because the Steam Deck is a fully fledged PC, and that's true, but let's be honest, no one is buying a Steam Deck to edit videos with it or to browse the web. It is a portable gaming device, and that's what it should be compared with. Oh, and before anyone tries to comment below that I'm a Nintendo fanboy, I'm not. I'm as much a PC gamer as one can be. I gotta admit, however, that the Steam Deck will be cheaper than other handheld PC offerings out there, which is great. That being said, it doesn't seem like availability will be much better, especially considering Valve's track record of releasing hardware products and later abandoning them. The Steam machines, the Steam controller, the Steam Link, and, to some extent, even the Valve Index. Valve's interest on hardware isn't accompanied by good logistics and planning to make sure customers are able to purchase their new hot product. And there's a reason for that. Essentially, all of these hardware offerings are vanity projects, something that Valve does simply because they have a particular interest in it. And most often than not, the concept they are trying to develop isn't something new. Game streaming wasn't new when the Steam Link was launched, VR wasn't new when the Index was revealed, and handheld PC gaming isn't new now that the Steam Deck was announced. Valve isn't a true innovator in the sense that they don't really come up with technological breakthroughs or develop new ways to interact with software, like, let's say, Nintendo has been known to do historically. Instead, Valve is pretty good at tracking interesting technology trends and then developing their own improved version of said trends. That's why I'm not hyped for the Steam Deck itself. It is still too expensive, hard to justify purchasing if you either already have a PC or a device like the Switch. Its availability is almost certain to be scarce, especially outside of North America and Europe, and above all that, you can be sure that in 1 to 2 years from now, we will have way better devices that will outdo the Steam Deck. But wait, don't dislike the video yet. I might not be excited for the Steam Deck as a hardware product, but I'm very excited for what it can do to how we see portable gaming devices, and computers in general. Let me explain. Valve's big on Linux. Ever since Gabe Newell showed his concern about the Windows Store and how it could completely close off the PC ecosystem into Microsoft's proprietary bubble back in 2012 when Windows 8 was about to launch, Valve has been very supportive with the free, as in freedom, and open source software side of things. And that's for a good reason. We, as individuals, should be entitled to do whatever we want with our devices. Despite that, corporations have interest on locking us up on their closed ecosystem. With every Windows release, Microsoft tests the waters to see how much they can get away with removing freedom from the user. And, thankfully, there's been backlashes significant enough to deter that behavior to some extent. Apple seems a lot worse in comparison, and gaming devices in particular have a bad rap for being completely closed-off environments for the common user, especially in the case of Nintendo. You may have paid for your Nintendo Switch unit, but if you ask Nintendo, they'll say you are not entitled to running whatever operating system you want on it, and your device might get bricked or banned by the company if you decide to, as they say, tamper with it. Or, as we should say, exercise your ownership over the hardware you just bought. And that's where the Steam Deck comes in. Valve's handheld PC will come with SteamOS installed, a Linux distribution that's currently pretty much capable of running most games available on Steam, even those without native Linux ports. In fact, that's the case of most Linux distros out there nowadays. Be it through native releases or through compatibility tools, such as Wine and its integration on Steam through Proton and Steam Play, or other third-party apps like Lutris. With each passing month, the amount of games playable on Linux only increases. If you feel like it, you can check if the titles from your Steam library run on the Linux version of Steam at the ProtonDB website. Go check it out, it is a very interesting website to browse. That fact alone, that the Steam Deck will ship with a Linux-based OS, is great news, and I'm certain will open up a lot of people's eyes about how viable and actually pleasant it is to game on Linux, especially now that gaming on Linux is a lot more user-friendly and mature than it was back when the original Steam machines were announced. But it doesn't stop there. Being an open platform, a true handheld PC, Valve has already stated, and I don't believe they would take it back, that the user will be free to use whatever OS they want. You don't like SteamOS and prefer to run another Linux distro? Sure, go ahead. You don't want to mess with Linux and prefer to install Windows? No problem. It is your right to do as you wish with the hardware you've just purchased. That's what makes me excited for the Steam Deck. It is a declaration from Valve to consumers and competitors that hardware isn't meant to be locked under a specific software platform. Users should be free to do as they see fit with their computers. That's what makes PCs what they are, personal computers. And although, again, this is nothing new, because there already exist handheld gaming devices out there which offer this sort of flexibility to some extent, it is refreshing to see such a large and influential company like Valve taking this stance. At the very least, this will help further cement in consumers' minds the concept that an ideal device should be open to user customization, not walled in behind a company's closed software ecosystem. In that sense, the Steam Deck is a giant leap ahead, even if the hardware is soon to be abandoned by Valve after a year or two, as it usually is the case. Above all, I see the Steam Deck as a statement for freedom, and that's a message I can stand behind for sure. Finally, I imagine most people who bought Valve's handheld won't bother changing the OS it comes with. If you bought it, be sure to give SteamOS a try before formatting. Even if you decide to jump back to Windows, I believe you'll be happily surprised by how well a Linux operating system can perform in gaming. But in the end, what operating system to run is solely for you to decide. And that's how it should always be.